Welcome back to Amplified. Millions of parents have looked forward to the 15th of every month since the child tax credits were extended back in July as part of Biden's effort to counter the economic crisis that was brought on by the pandemic. For these families, including over 60 million children, the $300 monthly payments meant having food on the table, keeping the lights on, paying rent, money for childcare, and other basic necessities. Sadly, the child tax credits expired in December, and Congress's failure to extend them means that these households will not receive their coveted benefits this Friday. Without this cash cushion, they will lose thousands of dollars in aid, and an estimated 10 million children stand to be thrust back into poverty. Congress can still act, well, but are they actually going to find the will? Here to help us understand the way forward and answer some questions on many of our minds is Dorian Warren, the co-president of Community Change and co-chair of the Economic Security Project. Dorian, welcome back to Amplified. We have been talking about this for some time, and now, come Friday, families who have counted on the extra $300 extended child credit won't actually have that benefit anymore. So first, please just remind us how this money actually helped American families and what's in store for them now that they're not going to get those payments.
Well, Aisha, great to be back with you. And it's really hard to follow Aisha Garza, let me just say, because she said all the words. But we know these payments work. Since July, we have seen families using this money for, as you already mentioned, necessities like food and clothing, back to school gear for their kids, to help with their largest bills like rent and childcare, save for their kids' future. And we are now at a moment where our elected leaders, on both sides, by the way, because we haven't seen as much action as we'd like to from the White House and from the leaders, the Democrat leaders in the Congress, but they are making a policy and political choice to throw millions of kids back into poverty. And let me say one more thing, Aisha. This expanded child tax credit that started in July has reduced poverty among Black and brown kids by 50%. Think about that. Think about that. We have reduced child poverty in half, and we are now, because of inaction, in a moment where we could, as you put it, thrust those kids back into poverty, and that is morally reprehensible. It's also bad economics.
I gotta say that this is what has been so fascinating to me about this, is that in such short order, we're talking about a matter of months. Literally, we've been able to demonstrate that you can decrease and maybe ultimately eradicate what we know as poverty just by having, which for some feels like, a minimal amount of money each month that families and households are getting, that actually means a whole lot. So the fact that we're not even taking the data to say, wait a minute, we need to keep this going because it's working, and it's probably one of the most effective or fastest outcomes that we've seen, which makes it one of the most effective policy tools that, I know of, at least in a generation. It's mind-boggling that they're not following that data or care, but whatever. There's a lot of opinion about this, though, right? In December, a Morning Consult poll showed that Americans are kind of split on extending the child tax credit. 47% of voters say that the child tax credit should be expanded for a year, which is what's prescribed by the Build Back Better Act, while 42% disagree. So can you explain that divide? Why are people so split on this?
Well, I think some of the other polling that we've seen shows that many people didn't even know that the money showing up in their bank accounts or the checks that they received via snail mail was due to the child tax credit. So there's a problem of storytelling here, and particularly from this administration, but from the broader advocacy community around child poverty, of actually telling the story and walking people through, especially those, Aisha, there are millions of parents that never received the child tax credit because they hadn't filed their taxes. And so what is the storytelling to do? We have the social science data, as you pointed out, that shows without a doubt the incredible impact of this policy. As you put it, one of the most significant anti-poverty policies of our generation. And the fact that it happened so fast in terms of the reduction in poverty is astounding. Now, what else do we need? We need more of the storytelling of people explaining to their elected officials why it matters for them to keep these payments going. And we need to take action. So it's up to people like me to be organizing and mobilizing people in the streets. And we have to connect our struggles. So you just had a whole conversation with Aisha Garza about voting rights. I think the entire Build Back Better package has to be paired with the voting rights fight. because we have to put senators in particular on notice that you cannot block and oppose whether it's the rights to democracy or the fruits of democracy, which is what you might think of as legislation in terms of Build Back Better. You cannot oppose this in silence. And so there's a lot of talk about the filibuster. I want Senator Schumer to bring back the talking filibuster and force Senate elected leaders to come to the floor of the Senate and say why they are against voting rights and to say why they want to throw children back in poverty. If we can do those two things, I think we would have some movement here.
Oh, that would be just so fierce. And how many people, wouldn't get reelected because of what they had to say? I think that'd be interesting. People are exhausted by all of this, right? Exhausted for sure by COVID-19. The pandemic benefits coming, to an end just as the virus is surging again is surely going to hit people in their pocketbooks. And to your point about narrative, I'm wondering if there is actually going to be some real life pain that people are feeling because the pandemic is ongoing and maybe even wrapping up, that their, pocketbooks are broke. They're not getting this check on the 15th like they used to. And if they're going to start to feel that pain, and the pain is going to put more pressure on the lawmakers. I'm curious, just as an organizer, how you're seeing that connective thread and if you're going to try to leverage it.
Yes, we know that people are going to experience more pain, and especially women of color, especially Black women with school-age children who have been hit the hardest in terms of being forced out of the labor market to care for their kids in the midst of a pandemic. And as you mentioned, we are now in this current Omicron wave. We don't know what waves are ahead of us, by the way. And so taking away, and that's what really the inaction in Congress is doing, taking away these monthly payments that have been such a lifesaver for millions of people is going to be even more painful, because many mothers are using that money to pay for childcare or family leave, because guess what? We don't have paid family leave. So this speaks to the urgency of the moment, and it's all of our jobs, the conversations you're having, the conversations I'm having, people that are watching and listening, to have the conversations about how do we channel that pain? How do we channel the pain into action? Because as Garza said, quoting Frederick Douglass, power concedes nothing without a demand. There is no magic wand that's going to be waved by the president to get this done. We also have to take action together and force them to do what they're not going to do without our pressure.
I got to say, and I only have a minute left, the biggest obstructionist to all of this is Joe Manchin, who represents a whole lot of poor people who don't have jobs in the coal mines of West Virginia anymore. And he has been in the way of Build Back Better, as he's been in the way to so much. And now he's saying he may not even want to go with the original, tweaks he presented. So I'm just curious, in 30 seconds, what are we going to do about Joe Manchin?
We need action in the state from his constituents. There are religious and moral leaders who are putting the pressure on him and making the moral case. We need families to tell the story and to basically be a little disruptive and say, you know what, we're not going to leave you alone until you do the right thing and represent us. We are your constituents. And, I think the last thing I'll say is I'm heartened by the fact that the United Mine Workers labor union has come out to say, enough is enough, Joe Manchin. You need to act right by us. You need to represent us and not the big business coal industry that you're in the pocket of.
All right. Dorian Warren, co-president of Community Change and co-chair of the Economic Security Project. It is always such a pleasure to have you on Amplified. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.